Good morning, everybody. I would say welcome to Beijing because I've been living here since 1980. I'm one of the old timers, the survivors. Look at all the gray hair I have. It's a fabulous place to be. It's not always very easy. It's challenging. In early 2002 to be exact, I got involved in the Olympic Games, working here for the government to prepare the Olympics. And I said, well, you know, when you go for Olympics, you should do something. And I never run in my life, and I started running marathons. That was maybe a good decision and a bad decision at the same time. We were looking then also at the air in Beijing, and I was becoming conscious there was something very, very wrong with the pollution here of the air. And finally, in 2007, I ran my 5th marathon in Beijing, and the Chinese doctors told me, you can stop because you've got chronic bronchitis because of the PM 2.5 sitting in your lungs, and you should not run anymore. So all these years I got really interested in pollution issues, looking at air issues, and then being an engineer, you know, engineers are very bad, they like figures, they like to study stuff. So I went digging up a little bit what was going on with the environment in China, and the result was not very happy to see. We need a lot of happiness here in China to combat pollution. Because the situation in China, in short, we can say, is pretty dramatic. China is a huge country. It's 20% of the world's population, but it has got some really difficult tasks ahead. Because it has only 9% of the arable land in the world. It has only 7% of the water resources in the world. But what happens is that those water resources we have are polluted. The situation, especially in water, is very serious. About 70% of rivers and lakes are heavily polluted in China. More than half of the water we have is not drinkable, and 1/4 of the water we have is so toxic that it even cannot be used for industrial purposes. So it looks all pretty bad. You read every day the newspapers about cancer villages in the south, about pollution in rivers, 30 tons of cadmium being dumped somewhere in a river, and 200, 300 kilometers of river being poisoned. It's a very dramatic situation. But contrary to what people think about China, we have to look a little bit in a more balanced view on the situation here. Because first of all, the government, the Chinese government, is pretty aware. People think they are not aware. They are very, very conscious about the seriousness of the situation today. And you know, we have in China, we have 5-year plans. We are currently in the 12th 5-year plan. And if you see what the government is allocating as budgets, it's not just talk, political stuff. The money is there. They are like just for renewable energies. China, we can say today, is #1 in the world in investment in renewable energies. Just last year, USA gained the #1 position again, but I think very soon they will drop to #2. In the 12th 5-year plan, enormous amounts of money are being allocated. You know, like in 5 years, we're talking about 4 trillion renminbi just to develop new industries and also environmental issues. In just 5 years, 500 billion. That's very little for Chinese, you know. We're only talking trillions here. But 500 billion just to clean up the 10 major rivers and lakes we have in China. The challenges are really very serious. And contrary to what we see like in countries like the United States today, where people say, well, you know, do we have global warming? Can we have some data? And is it really true, all this, you know, this talk we see about climate change and blah, blah, blah. For the Chinese government, it's very clear. There is global warming, full stop. There is climate change, full stop. They have done exhaustive studies. Those studies are available to the public. Many of the data I use in my book is coming straight from China Daily, from official sources. They are really conscious that the situation is bad. So they have been looking at the impact of global warming on China, the rise of the seas, how it will affect cities like Tianjin, Shanghai, and others. So there are enormous projects on the table. In terms of renewable energy, China is trying to invest massively. Wind energy, solar energy, also nuclear is included. There are massive efforts because today we use a lot of coal. China is number one in the world for greenhouse emissions. It's also the biggest consumer of energy, of primary energy. But when you look at it on a per capita basis, then actually China is not bad at all. I mean, always people point the finger at China, but we should not forget this is a continent with 1.3 billion people. And in terms of wastage, we see among us per capita, it's still very modest compared to countries like the US or Australia. So why do we come to this situation today? The situation is actually what this is the title of my book, is toxic capitalism. I am not against capitalism. What I am against is a bad strain. It is caused by overconsumption. In our world today, we are getting so used to buy stuff, use it very little, and throw away. We have become the buy, throw away society. And we think the planet on Earth is just for us. We are the last generation, and who cares about the resources we have in front of us for our children. The word depletion today of natural resources will become more and more important and factual. China is suffering from that because they are the factory of the world. They mass produce the electronics, all the equipment for the world. Many of the Western countries, as a matter of fact, have relocated their polluting industries to China. And then they point the finger at China saying, well, you're bad guys, you know, you pollute, you pay your laborers very badly, bad labor conditions. But we have to change our attitude in terms of consumption. Today, there are people who say, like in the US, I don't know if the figure is right, but they say, what Americans buy after 6 months, only 1% they still have in their hands. We waste a lot of resources. We buy stuff, throw it away. And so China is in a very bad situation. They don't have enough land, they don't have enough water. So when you see what the Chinese are doing worldwide, they, in 1 year, they buy like 40 to 50 billion dollars of companies. They go everywhere around the world to buy up resources. They don't have enough oil, they don't have enough gas, they don't have enough corn, soybeans, meat, and things like that. So it's a really desperate gesture from the Chinese to go abroad and buy resources. So what can we do about it? Well, my theory is very utopian, I know. We should go for quality of products, quality of government, and quality of financial institutions. We should keep the stuff we have longer time, so that means the quality must be good. We cannot allow rubbish again on the market that we buy and throw away. I know it's utopian, but what choice do we have? Instead of buying a microwave and then it's broken, we throw it away, do we realize what's in this microwave in terms of resources, copper, plastics, rare earths, and so on? So this is the big challenge we have. Is it going to affect labor? People say, well, Gilbert, you're going to kill the industry. Well, not. Because what we have to bring back is the service, maintenance, after sales, more engineering, better quality in the production. So we need more engineers, better technicians. And the technician who repairs your microwave, he's not sitting in China. He will be next door in New York or in Paris or wherever. So we bring back, or we should bring back, the service sector so that we waste less and we have still a planet we can leave for our children instead of giving a toxic planet. Thank you very much.